And so I don't know how it's going to work, but every eye will see him. And some of those eyes will have tears in them. Because look at what verse 30 says. It says, the peoples of the earth will mourn at his returning. There'll be some cheering, and there'll be some mourning, if verse 30 is correct. And it is. This verse, for me, I think connects back wonderfully with one of my favorite verses from the Old Testament. So if you're new to the Bible was essentially, it's two different books put together. The Old Testament was completed at about like 400 BC. It was just kind of done and dusted, kind of a closed book. And then the New Testament was completed in the 1st century AD. So it's written by different authors. We have them together in one book, but there's like a 400-year gap between the close of the Old Testament and then the start of the New Testament. And we see these records of promises and prophecies about a coming Messiah. And then we have the New Testament describe how they're perfectly completed and fulfilled in the Lord Jesus Christ. One of my favorite of the Old Testament prophecies of the coming Messiah is in Zechariah chapter 12, verse 10. It's going to come up on the screen in a moment. It says this, the Lord speaking, God says, I will pour out on the house of David and on the inhabitants of Jerusalem a spirit of grace and supplication, and they will look upon me, the one whom they have pierced, and they will mourn for him as one mourns for an only child, and grieve bitterly for him as one grieves for a firstborn son. Written more than 400 plus years before the coming of Jesus, but then here we have, so who's the speaker in this? Who's speaking? God. And then he's talking about looking upon me, God, who has been pierced. So like theologians of old, Jewish rabbis. So how is God going to be pierced? Well, maybe it means like metaphorically, like he's grieved with the weight of our sin, and it pierces his heart. Maybe it's like a metaphor. Maybe there's different ways to get around this. But in the Gospel of John, chapter 19, verse 37, it clearly says what I think we're all thinking. On the cross, humanity quite literally pierced the Son of God. And at his return, the whole world will see him. And those that rejected him will realize the truth too late, grieving over the one who was pierced.